When you close your eyes and picture Laos, what do you see? In the 1950s, Laos and Vietnam had opposing forces between a communist and democratic state. As the communists began to revolutionize Southeast Asia into a communist society, the American CIA reacted by ruthlessly bombing all of Southeast Asia. This caused many Lao families, like my own, to flee for the betterment of their children's future. Let's go back in time. We start in the 19th century. It was France's colonial period. During this time, France seized control of almost all of the Indochinese peninsula. In 1942, Japan briefly took control. Later that year, France took control again. In 1946, the Indochinese ethnic groups grouped together to fight the French. They ended up winning in 1954. They divided the territory into Laos, Cambodia, South Vietnam, and North Vietnam. In Laos, there was one problem though. The people could not decide on a king or a communist president. This led into civil war in 1962. 7 years prior to this war, in 1955, North and South Vietnam also broke into war. Supa Nu Vong and Ho Chi Minh supported each other. Rebels, even prior to war being declared, already started making historic communist movements. Their goal was to revolutionize Southeast Asia into a communist society. North Vietnamese communist leader Ho Chi Minh developed a plan named after him to help support his war. This plan was the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The trail cut out of North Vietnam, down through Laos and Cambodia, and branched off into South Vietnam to either attack or to carry supplies. Backed by the Pathet Lao, Vietnam had the okay to build this trail. Back in the United States, John F. Kennedy was the president at the time. On March 21st, 1963, here's what he said about Laos.
Always conscious of the obligation which rests upon all members of the United Nations to seek peaceful solutions to problems of this sort.
Some thought that this was a blatant lie. In the early 60s, the American CIA developed their own plan to stop the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The plan? Ruthlessly bomb all of the Ho Chi Minh Trail, as well as communist Laos. After Kennedy's passing, it was President Johnson who ordered the first bombing of Laos.
When you're putting in the airstrikes, there's no such thing as friendly fire. There's no such thing as a friendly airstrike. When we drop those bombs down there, bombs don't care who they kill. They're extremely destructive, they're very powerful, and so we had to do our best to ensure that our ordnance was landing where it needed to land, not harming our friendlies.
But there's more. Johnson sent CIA operatives to the mountains of Laos to train the Hmong ethnic group who lived in Laos how to fight against the communists. Going under the radar of the Cold War, President Johnson and Nixon choosing not to speak on it, it makes you wonder the transparency of the US government. 270 million bombs were dropped on Laos, indiscriminately. To this day, it is the most bombed country in the world, and yet most Americans don't know. Kennedy worked to keep Laos neutral, but sadly that wasn't possible due to his assassination. War finally ended and the Americans pulled out. Despite the efforts, communism still took over Laos. Hmong men, women, and children were either sent to re-education camps or slaughtered on the spot. Here is Mealy's story as a Hmong escapee.
Rong gong li yu ta xie ma yeng yu tu mo li yeng jin ya ka tu trong ma li le.
All of the years of bombing, in constant fear, trying to save people's futures, were for nothing. My own grandparents lived through this war. Now that communism took over, they had to choose to flee for their kids' future or stay and suffer the consequences of communism. Here is the story of a second-generation Lao from Iowa.
During the time when my family fled, they had to leave all of that behind. There was no paperwork, there was nothing to kind of record who they were, and that's really risky, especially going into a new world.
My dad's side of the family in 1980 took this risk. A year later, in 1981, my mom's family fled too. When my mom's family reached the Mekong River, this is what happened.
They hired a fisherman to take us in his boat across the Mekong River. He lied to us and said he saw soldiers and we need to jump. We all jumped. And then, we got caught for trying to escape.
They put my mom, my two uncles, my grandma, and my grandpa into a concentration camp. The back of the photo reads, "Today, I won't be able to come. I have some personal matters I must take care of. I will come back/contact you later. I'm sorry. Thank you." It was likely my grandpa who wrote this and sent this out to a close friend of his. My dad's side had more luck crossing the river and becoming Thai refugees.
My family was also captured. Our stories are very similar. So my grandpa built a raft. One night, in the middle of the night, I think it was 2 or 3 a.m., he snuck his entire family. At the time, his wife was pregnant. She was 8 months pregnant, and he had 5 kids. So they had 5 kids, and he put all of his kids on this raft, and he gets in the water of the Mekong River and pushes them. Like this. My great-grandmother was able to take all of the children and my grandpa to safety, in a refugee camp or something. But my grandma was thrown in a jail.
In the late 1980s, my mom's side of the family received a sponsor to come to the place they always dreamed of. In 1986, my dad's side of the family received a sponsorship from a church in Storm Lake, Iowa to come to America. My parents who went through relentless fear, torture, and unrest. I am forever in debt for their decision to escape for a better life.
Generations like us are going to make a huge change to Lao culture. I think one thing is you don't really talk about the negative things. You only talk about the wins, but in a lot of Asian culture, you don't really talk about feelings, you don't talk about bad things. But I feel with our generation, we're going to be the ones to speak up. Aunties, my great uncles and aunties and my grandparents, they're very patriotic, which there's nothing wrong with being patriotic, but they haven't been able to articulate the things that they went through during their journey. They just celebrate that they made it here. Something that should also be acknowledged is what they went through. And I feel the older generation doesn't talk about that.
What's done is done, but as the younger generation, we must not let others forget.
You're bringing this up in your history event that you're talking about. It is already showing that we are the generation that's going to speak up.
30% of the bombs dropped did not explode. These bombs are still out there active today. They injure Laos citizens, half of which are just children. To save these future generations of Laos, there have been efforts to try and pick up the bombs. These organizations are helping, but are not getting every single bomb. In September of 2016, here is what President Obama said.
There is still much more work to do. So today I'm proud to announce a historic increase in these efforts. The United States will double our annual funding to $90 million over the next 3 years to help Laos expand its work.
As of 2024, the United States sent 210 teams, as well as $391 million since 1995, to help reform the land of Laos. Organizations like MAGUS, or Restoration Laos, are also continuing to help Laos. With the communist revolution in Laos, and the reaction of ruthless bombing, and the reform of resettling, as well as picking up unexploded bombs, there are still more reforms that can be made.